thought it might be interesting to go over my tools. Now, when I first started doing this sort of thing, I really didn't have much in the way of good tools. But I made do. I mean, I had my basic soldering iron, a bunch of strip screwdrivers. Now I've collected a pretty decent mass of tools, and also we've made some custom little things to help us with our day-to-day chores. So we'll start with just a basic setup so you can get the idea. For Phillips screwdrivers, we've got the honking ones all the way down to some small teeny jeweler's screwdrivers for more difficult tasks. And I find that whenever you're having a problem getting a fastener out, it's not you or your technique, it's more likely the screwdriver. So you go and grab another one, and usually it'll help you out quite a bit. You can see I have different sizes and models for the various same application tool. This is a particularly old snips or side cutter, and it's pretty dull, so if I'm going to cut something that's going to have a tendency to ruin my blade or my edge, I use the crappy ones and I save the real sharp good ones for finer stripping wire jobs, because it's important to have, you know, a decent set of snips and not have everything get ripped up. So it gets frustrating sometimes when I, you know, grab the wrong one or have the wrong one out. You got to be diligent and don't wreck your tools. Nothing more frustrating than fixing a tool. Now, nowadays you run into a lot of unusual fasteners. So I've got, you know, two different sizes of, these are real nice multi-Allen wrench. So you can get the proper size, whether it's English or metric. And same thing with these nut drivers. These come in handy as well. And then you've got a little guy here. This is a hand-operated one. Or you can pop these in any cordless drill or what have you. We got here a little, this guy's nice. Got a little Phillips here, a little regular. You know, that's another point with regular screwdrivers. You can see how this has been pried. You don't really want to pry with a regular screwdriver if you can avoid it. You can start it with something like this, and when you go to apply pressure, you switch it up with some, you know, like a piece of junk like this, you know. This is much more efficient for prying stuff up, so it's very important to use the right tool for the job. Here I've got my homemade prison shank. This is great for popping open cans if you don't have fingernails, or stabbing one of your helpers if they hand you the wrong tool. Comes in handy. This thing here, I don't exactly know what they call it. It's a fitting tool, but you use this if you don't want to mar something. You don't want to scratch the finish, but you need to use a prying tool. Really cool little guy. Gets chipped, gets broken. Oh, it's for auto glass. It's for jamming the dum-dum into the windows. Really neat little thing called an equalizer. Now, I keep my abrasives. This is all garbage pick sandpaper. Believe it or not, people do throw sandpaper in the garbage. I don't know why you would do that, but they do. And we're usually there to intercept it. So we have this box, we call it the abrasives, and that's where I keep the files in there as well. We got some square file or some round files in another location, but those files often do come in handy. This little guy, somebody threw it away. I couldn't believe it. We rescued it, cleaned it up, re-tipped it, but it's fantastic. I mean, why would somebody? The thing is just absolutely darling. Now this was a broken hacksaw blade. It snapped in half when, I don't think I broke it, but in any event, we grabbed a couple pieces of wood, put some JB Weld epoxy in there, taped it off, and now we have a prison hacksaw. Comes in handy, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, I'm going to take a quick cut. Now here you'll see that I've organized my drill bits, my day-to-day use dull drill bits. And I also have a center punch in here. You hit that with a hammer and then you go ahead and drill. Make sure your drill bit doesn't run. Fantastic little innovation. Now these come in handy if you want to hide the screw. So you go ahead and chunk that out. You put that in your drill, you chunk that out, and then you can countersink those screws. If your screw isn't the right length, well, you bore out that large hole. And it makes it nice then, you know. The screw isn't sticking out to grab your clothes or anything like that. But we've got an assortment of Phillips and regular multi-bits in here. Some of the, what do you call these things? I don't even know what you call them. But this comes in real handy. And then, of course, I've got a set for larger diameter titanium bits. You'll find that they're actually pretty brittle. The small ones break and bend. You got to be real careful with them. So the small drill bits come at a premium. you know, I'm always breaking them, and it seems like if it's a metal project, you know, it's going to be, there's going to be some drill bits breaking and flying. Now, if you need to cut a larger hole, you can use some of these grindstones to enlarge it. If it's going to be a monster, you actually can use one of these suckers here. It's I don't know what you call it, a hole saw, something like that. Most of these are garbage picked. But nowadays, we're using all sorts of these goofy fasteners, these Torx security bits. So it's nice to have a set you can get into something. And you know, I don't like to play around when I see those type of fasteners. I try to eliminate them if I can. But I've got a couple sets of bits here. So when we run into something goofy, they don't want you getting in there. You know, we can get in there. So it's actually pretty nice to be able to have the proper tool for the job, as they say. Very important. Now moving on, we'll come over here. This is a homemade hobby grinder. It's a garbage pick drill. It receives its power from this battery that gets charged up while you're using it. So you can go ahead and you pull that in and out of there, the LED comes on and it's powered up, so the battery doesn't really drain, it's running off the AC. But the nice thing about this is it has the battery in there, so if you want to take it outside and there's no outlet, it'll go ahead and run without any power. But this is great for, I run a wire wheel, grinding wheels in here, you know, smaller jobs and cleaning stuff up. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know what I did without this thing, you know, and it's, in the situations that I run into, it's always nice to have a few different drills. You'll start off with a pre-drill, a small bit, you know, cut your hole out for the, you know, your fastener, your screw. And then we use this paddle if we wanted to countersink it. And then you have the cordless drill with your fastener, with your regular Phillips bit in it. So, see, look at that, you know, instead of sitting here changing bits and draining your battery because you're putting this one in, taking it out, putting that one in, taking it out, taking that out, putting this one in, saves wear and tear, because those batteries are incredibly expensive. So I mean, you know, even with one of these suckers laying around, seems like no matter how often you charge it, it's dead. So what we did, we took a lot of our old rechargeable tools, these three guys here, the batteries were all dead in them, so we opened them up and eliminated the batteries and hooked some wire up to them. We connected an old wall socket into this power supply. So now these old tools that should have ended up in the garbage, they plug right into here, receive their voltage from this unit, and we get to use them. So it's absolutely fantastic. Now this unit is supposed to run off 3.6 volts or 3.3, something goofy like that. Now it's running off of 12 volt. So it screams. And this sucker, when you're taking a VCR apart or something, you got about 16, 32 screws to remove. Boy, you pop a Phillips bit in here and you'll be ready. You'll have time for a snack before you're done. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm very proud of this homemade hobby grinder, and we are going to take a cut.